We appreciate the opportunity to share with the committee and really with the country the focus we're making in Wisconsin on making sure we make a commitment to the future so that our children don't face even more dire consequences than what we face today. And by that I mean and why it's so powerful. The committee has been looking at this issue not only in my testimony but in the last couple of months, because all across the country we've got 44 states in the District of Columbia that are facing critical budget crisis. In fact, in total, more than $111 billion worth of deficits, from 2% almost up to 45% of some state budgets. That's because we've got government that's grown out of control. In many cases, government at both the state and at the local level that's grown year after year after year with higher and higher benefit costs for their public employees. We decided to tackle our $3.6 billion budget deficit in Wisconsin. We had to tackle it head on. And so we took on the challenge of saying it's not enough to just find a short-term fix. Many governors are looking at settling labor negotiations with a short-term, a 1 or a 2 year fix. That's not good, because the reason we're in the trouble we're in right now, particularly with our pension and our retirement benefits, are the fact that politicians didn't want to make tough decisions, and so they deferred compensation to the future. Well, the time has come to pay those bills, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Our budget balances the budget, reduces our structural deficit by over $2 billion, and ultimately Moody's named it a credit-positive budget. We've got to do that, and how we did that was to ask, even though it was politically very bold, we asked for something very, very modest to the average middle-class taxpayer. We asked for a 5.8% contribution to our pension and a 12.6% contribution for health care. On average, middle-class taxpayers in our state are paying 20% for health care, and public employees in the federal level are paying 28%. By any measure, what we're asking for is very reasonable for the middle class. On top of that, all the talk about rights really goes right out the window. Rights come from the Constitution, and nowhere in the U.S. or my state's Constitution does it define collective bargaining as a right. In fact, quite the contrast. At the federal level, public employees outside of the Postal Service don't have collective bargaining when it comes to the pensions and benefits and health care. That's the reason for that, is because it's not a right. It's part of the work rules and the privileges out there, but it's something that to balance our budget we had to make changes on. In our case, we did it because it was not enough just to make a one-time fix. We needed a long-term, permanent solution to give our state and our local governments the tools to balance their budget. And the other part that's largely been overlooked, and I appreciate the chance to share today, to ensure that our government operates better, to make sure we put the best and the brightest teachers in the classroom instead of relying on a system under collective bargaining that mandates seniority and union contracts rule instead of merit and accountability. We want to pay for performance to make sure we've got the best government possible and that we're good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. That's what this is all about. We need to worry more about the next generation and not just the next election.